Today is a huge day for Beyblade fans because Hasbro Beyblade X is finally here. And in this video, we're going to be looking at one of the main character releases with Sword Dran. In the Beyblade X anime, Sword Dran is used by Jaxon, who is one of the best bladers in all of Xenon City, and he's also kind of the main character, but I'll let you guys argue about that in the comments. But now let's go ahead and talk about the Bey itself, which is Sword Dran. Because this is one of the first Hasbro X Beys that I've ever gotten, I do want to take a quick look at the box, and the box art is pretty nice. You do see Sword Dran right at the front, you see its name on the front, you also see a funky little red Let It Rip tab, which I'll talk about in a second. And then we have the back of the box, which showcases all the different pieces that are a part of the Bey, as well as their individual stats. Although the stats don't really matter that much. I do also want to talk about the side of the box as well, because we see an ad for the official Beyblade X app, but at the time of this video, that app isn't actually out yet, so we don't know if it's cool or if it's bad, but if you're watching this in the future, what do you think? Even though we're talking about Hasbro Beyblade X, there's an entire lineup of Japanese Beys from Takara Tomy, and if you want to get some for yourself, go and check out Mall of Toys. They have a bunch of Beyblade X releases and even Beyblade UX releases up for sale right now, like Dran Buster, Hell's Hammer, and more. So go and check out sponsor of the channel Mall of Toys, link in the description down below, and make sure to use code ilinnuc to get 5% off of your first purchase. But now let's go back to the Let It Rip tab on the front of the box, because that is actually the way you open up the package. You grab the tab and literally let it rip like a ripcord. So we're gonna do that, and you're gonna get my live reaction. You ready? 3, 2, 1, let it rip. All right, that was a little anticlimactic. Let's try it again. There we go. I kind of ruined it. That's my fault. But once you let it rip, it's going to open up a little pocket where you can access everything that comes inside of the box, from the launcher to the pieces to the instructions. But to get to the actual blade, you are going to have to destroy the box a little bit, which kind of sucks. It's not a big deal at all, but the first thing I want to talk about is going to be the launcher, and it's kind of puny. There's really just not a lot of space for you to hold the launcher, and the ripcord is kind of short, so you're not going to get as much power as you could, but there are launcher options out there. There is the Soar Phoenix set, which is going to come with a really good string launcher, and they're also selling a more pro ripcord launcher separately, but this'll be fine. But now let's move on to the actual Bey itself. In this new Beyblade X lineup, there are 3 different pieces. There is the bit, the ratchet, and the blade. And the first piece we're going to look at on Sword Dran is going to be the bit, which is F or flat. Now, flat is a really simple and basic attack type bit, and it's a shape that we've seen for generations of Beyblade at this point, but they're not really going to do anything super unique or crazy for a little while, but stay tuned. I do want to talk about the burst element of the bits. The bits do affect the Beyblade's burst resistance quite heavily. So if we compare the flat bit to a more stamina-oriented bit like ball, you can see in the stem of the bit, it's a little bit thicker, and that's what's going to affect your burst resistance. Now let's move on to the next piece, which is the middle of the Bey, or the ratchet. And for Sword Dran, we have 360. I do like the design of this ratchet quite a bit, with the darker blue outer edge to the clear plastic center. And if you don't know what the numbers mean in 360, 3 is the amount of bumps that the ratchet has, and you can see that there are 3 here, and 60 is the height. I do want to talk about the back of the box really quick, because we do have a stat that showcases the height of the ratchet, and you can see that 60 is towards the shorter end of the spectrum, but having a short and aggressive Bey should be a pretty good recipe for an attack type. And now finally we can move on to the main part of the Bey. We have the blade, and here we have Sword Dran. Sword Dran is just such a classic shape with its 3-bladed design, and the blue dragon motif in the middle just looks really cool. The blue dragon motif on the middle of the blade, or the gear chip, is kind of the bit beast for the entire Beyblade, and it also has a bit of a sports team design. But the hard-hitting metal contact points on Sword Dran are super cool, they're super edgy, and it's going to be a really solid piece to use for attack type combos, at least for the beginning of the Beyblade X lineup. But now let's put the Bey all together by clicking in the ratchet and giving it a little twist, popping in the bits, and there you go. You have Sword Dran, and it's such a cool design, and even though it's a little small if you're coming from Beyblade Burst, the amount of metal here just makes the Bey feel really premium and really substantial. Now, I do want you to remember that this is Hasbro's version of Beyblade X. There is the Asian lineup that is handled by just Takara Tomy that's about a year ahead, and so I do want to do a comparison between Hasbro and Takara Tomy. This is definitely going to be pretty quick. The boxes are somewhat similar, but the Beys themselves are pretty much the exact same. Takara Tomy just doesn't have the QR code for the Beyblade X app. So now it is time to test Sword Dran up against the other Hasbro Beyblade X releases. Unboxings of those should be on the channel, by the way, or will be, depending on when you're watching this. But let's do some battles and see how strong Sword Dran is. So first up, let's do a little bit of a test launch with this teeny tiny little small launcher. Can barely hold it with my 2 fingers. 3, 2, 1, let it rip. Okay. But then once you get one of the really good ripcord launchers, it's really no competition at all. So get one of the big launchers if you can. There's Arrow Wizard and... Okay, big over finish for Sword Dran. Let it... Okay, here we go. Oh my god, another U-chit. See, Sword Dran is crazy, and I'm still using the tiny launchers. So now let's try it with 2 bigger launchers connected using a launcher link by Noozle 3D. If you want to get a link for yourself, I'm going to have a link in the description down below. Let it rip. Oh, those misses. There we go. So definitely more power from the big launchers, but I mean, what can you expect? So now let's go up against Helm Knight. 3, 2, 1, let it rip. And... good strike. Okay. So, power from Sword Dran kind of fell off a cliff. I'm going to blame the launcher for that one. Okay, good speed. Oh! Wow, okay, Sword Dran really likes this one pocket over here. That was cool. Now let's put Sword Dran up against the latest Takara Tomy release, which is Tyranno Beats. If you want one of these for yourself, Mala Toys, go check them out. Oh! Holy crap! That contact right at the start. Oh, and... wow. Quake on Tyranno Beat. Just lost that fight. Let it rip. Oh! Barely missing some contact. Oh man, wow. The balance on Sword Dran completely thrown off. So here is a little post-battle damage report, and you can definitely see some scuffs and some dents, but really nothing insane. So what did you guys think? Overall, Sword Dran is a really heavy, hard-hitting Beyblade, and I can't wait to test it up against some of the other Hasbro Beyblade X releases, and especially to put it into the Hasbro X Stadium, which just isn't out yet. But if you like this video, hit the like button down below, hit subscribe to join the Nook Nation, and I will see you in the next one. Have fun, and Bey away.